Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. It's the 24th, which means Lex Imperialis has finally been released for Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, and I get to finally make content about it. Very, very exciting. It's going to be a big day. I've actually got 3 videos coming out. So, of course, right now you're looking at the review for the DLC. In a couple of hours, I'm going to have another video dropping, walking through all of the mechanics for the new Arbitrator Origin. There's actually quite a bit to it, and so I felt like it needed its own video. And then a couple of hours after that, I'll have a separate video dropping, walking through all the mechanics for the new Overseer archetype. Once again, it's massive. There's a lot of complexity there. It's a really large video, and so I felt like it needed to have its own separate space. So definitely be on the lookout for that content. Also, if you have not yet purchased Rogue Trader, down in the links below, you should see a GOG link where you can purchase the game. I get a small piece of that, so I would definitely appreciate the support. With all that being said, let's get into the review, starting with what I like. So right off the bat, when you go to character creation, you're going to see a couple of new things that have been added to the game. First and foremost, there are 2 new portraits, one for a male arbitrator and then another one for a female arbitrator. I think in both cases, the art is fantastic and very consistent with what Owlcat has done previously for this game. The only thing I don't like about them is that the female one is clearly for someone who specializes in shields, while the male is clearly an overseer. It would have been nice to have a portrait option for someone who focuses on shotguns, especially since I think that type of origin is going to be very, very popular with the fan base. But what we got is really, really cool. So at the end of the day, cannot complain. Speaking of the new origin, it is absolutely fantastic. So Arbitrator gives you a base list of talents, and then similar to Psyker, there are some specialities you can go into to really drill down into what type of character you want to play as. So the 3 different options is one that focuses more so on support, one that focuses on shields, and then another one that focuses on shotguns. I wasn't very impressed with the support option, but shields and shotguns are really, really cool, and shotguns are flat out devastating. We're definitely going to get into that more in a couple of hours when the mechanics video drops, but really, really exciting stuff there for sure. Now, shortly after you select your origin, you're also going to be able to select an archetype. The first level archetypes are unchanged, but there is a new second tier archetype called Overseer. This one is fantastic. It's so much fun. When you first select it, there are 4 different familiars that you can choose from. These are cybernetic familiars who serve as allies, and all of them have very, very different functionality. And subsequently, they change what abilities and talents you have access to as an overseer when you're leveling up. So unlike all of the other archetypes, Overseer changes significantly based on which one of these you have selected. All of them have things that are really, really cool about them, but I think the obvious standout that completely changes the game is Cyber Raven, because it allows Psychers to take single target, non-damaging abilities and apply it to the entire team, because you can relay your abilities through the familiar. So basically, any character who is under the area of effect of that familiar will be impacted. And not only does this allow you to buff the entire team, you can also debuff massive amounts of enemies. And on top of that, the heroic action allows you to relay attack abilities. So you can probably imagine how powerful all of that is, but don't get it twisted. The Cyber Mastiff, which is the dog, is really, really cool as well. There's some great functionality there. And of course, Solomorne is both an arbitrator and he has the overseer archetype with the dog, so you get to play around with all of those mechanics. It's really, really cool stuff. Now, since we just spoke about Solomorne, I do want to go ahead and confirm he is absolutely fantastic. He has a great portrait that shows him with his shotgun and his dog running towards something that he's probably gonna shoot into oblivion. Great stuff. He has a really solid starting build as far as the party members you get access to in Rogue Trader. character. I do have some issues with it, and we're gonna go through his build tomorrow. I'll have a video dropping, but there's definitely a lot to like, and I don't think there's really anything there that I was like, wow, what in the heck is this doing here? So overall, he starts on a really strong place because you can decide if you want him to focus on shields or shotguns. So the game leaves some flexibility there for you. Also, his cybernetic dog Glado is fantastic, both on the battlefield, and the dog plays a lot into some of the content you go through and the conversations that you have with Solomorne. So I became really attached to Glado overall. Speaking of which, Solomorne does have a unique passive that you do not have access to. It's called Torrent of Fury, and when you activate it, it's going to give him a small bonus to damage based on how many times Glado has been successfully hit. So in a really tough fight that's lasted a long time, this might be quite a bit of damage depending on the situation. One of the things that I really like about Solomorne is that his personality comes off as very different from the rest of the party members that you have. More than anybody else, he comes off like a true soldier, a true living weapon, and someone who truly believes in the Lex Imperialis and the law. And he does it in a way that is absolutely consistent with the Warhammer universe, and I found it very entertaining to conversate with him and develop our relationship. Speaking of which, he does have a very interesting romance. I'll be curious to find out how the community feels about what direction it goes and how he handles it. I think it's one of those things where it could easily turn people off, but honestly, I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea that Owlcat didn't make it just something where, hey, everything's all hunky-dory and we're just all in love with each other. And so that aspect was kind of cool, and overall, again, I had a good time with it. Now, of course, in addition to receiving a new party member, there's new content, new storylines that are available with this DLC, and I really enjoyed that content as well. Feels completely different from what we experienced with Void Shadows. There's a little bit of variety in what we do, and I found that very interesting as well. Visiting the feudal world and going through that storyline was fantastic. It was a ton of fun, and we got to judge a few cases as well, which brought me back to Aeon content from Wrath of the Righteous. Really cool stuff all the way around. I feel like the storyline you go through of trying to help Solomorne recover ties that have been stolen was really well done. There are, however, some aspects of this expansion that I'm not quite as big on, and so let's go ahead and go through that. Now, first, let me say the majority of this you all are probably not going to experience. So I'm going to mention it here just in case for whatever reason it's not fixed in the release version. But most likely these next few things are going to be addressed when the full game releases, and you all are not going to have to worry about it. So first and foremost, in the version of the expansion I had, there was no voice acting, and that should not be the case when you all get the release version. Keep in mind, it was the exact same way with Void Shadows. I had no voice acting, but when you all got it, voice acting was in there, so that part should hopefully be fine. I also did experience one game-breaking bug due to the DLC. When Early Ed brings you into a dreamlike state, I was unable to exit out of that state because I received an error message basically making it clear that the game hadn't been set up to allow the dog, which has to travel with you at all times, even when you're on the ship, the dog couldn't come out of the space with me. So it basically caused the game to crash. Owlcat is already well aware of that. They're looking at it. I haven't experienced any other bugs in regards to this DLC. So unfortunately, I had to eliminate Early Ed so that I didn't get that scene, but that should not be a problem for you all when the game actually releases. And once again, I didn't experience any technical issues in relation to this expansion outside of that. Another issue that I had that hopefully is fixed on releases, it didn't feel like there was quite enough Arbites related content. And when I say content, I don't mean quest. I mean things like Solomorne speaking up, how much armor and weapons and accessories are available in the game. Armor most especially, I ran into very little of it throughout my playthrough. I didn't completely finish the game, but I did get to the beginning of Act 4. So I went through a pretty large portion of the game. And Owlcat did already let creators know that there is some Arbites related content that is missing from the version of the game that we have. So a lot of that should hopefully be fleshed out in the release version. But again, it was my experience, so I wanted to just note it in case it turns out that you all do end up having the same experience when you play it. There is one issue I have with the expansion that I know you all are going to experience, and it's not going to change. Solomorne cannot be recruited until Act 2. And not only that, he cannot be recruited until you reach Dargonus, which is the palace and the main capital for the Rogue Trader. And there's a fight that you have to go through in order to actually recruit him. It's a level 24 fight. And so if you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just interact too and then make a beeline towards him, that's what I did. And to be honest with you, I kind of regretted it because that fight is a beast and I had to do it multiple times in order to finally overcome it. So it's kind of a situation where Solomorne might be the last party member you recruit before Ulfar. And you all already know, if you've seen my other reviews, I strongly prefer getting my party members as early as possible. I love it when a game basically gives you all the party members right up front, and I had just expected we would get him in Act 1 the same way we got Cabela. But looking back on it, it makes sense that you don't get him till Act 2 because he was definitely going to be an overseer, which is a second tier archetype, and you don't get second tier archetype party members until Act 2. So I understand that part. I wish we could at least get him a little bit earlier in Act 2, like maybe if he was on footfall, something like that, as opposed to having to go that far into it in order to be able to recruit him. But unfortunately, that's not the situation. So you're going to have to wait a bit when you start a new playthrough before you're actually going to be able to experience his content and the new DLC storyline accordingly. And that's it. Those are my thoughts on the expansion. Again, I think it's fantastic. I think it's well worth starting a new playthrough. Shotguns are amazing now. I can't wait to do our live stream playthrough of the expansion. I'm going to be going double shotguns the whole way, and I already know it's going to be a blast. Once again, if you haven't purchased Rogue Trader yet, there's a GLG link down below that you can use. Definitely appreciate the support. Let me know if there's any other content you want to see for the game. Obviously, I came out with this review. We're reviewing the arbitrator mechanics. We're going to review the overseer mechanics. I'm going to do a build for Solomorne, but if there's something else regarding Rogue Trader that you want to see on top of all that, put it down below. I'll see if I can make a video for it and give you the answers that you need. Hope all of you enjoy this video. Take care.